Hi everyone, my name is Desiree with theastrologyaddiction.com and thank you so much for watching. Today's video is going to be on how people perceive you based on your zodiac sign and just basically on how people see you based on your sun or your rising sign. I think that those are the two main, things that jump out to people when they first meet you and probably stick with them for the long term, and that's how they, how their first impression was from you and how they see you as an individual. Coworkers, friends, family members, and romantic partners. So Aries people are usually seen as being impulsive, quick to make decisions, quick to take action. Sometimes they're seen as people who aren't, fully thinking things through all of the time. They may be seen as impulsive or rash, harsh, direct, people who are not very shy, more extroverted. In the workplace, usually they're seen as people who take action and, get things done, but then are also sometimes seen as not being very careful and particular in the way that they go about things. And that just depending on which type of scenario you might be in, that can be seen as good or bad. They're also seen as being very passionate, driven, ambitious people, great leaders, great motivators, motivational speakers. People can feel very encouraged by these fire people with Aries placements, and usually they're seen as being very visionary as well. Now, Taurus people are usually seen as pretty steady, confident people who are secure in themselves, people who aren't very wishy-washy. Taurus people, when they make up their mind about something, they typically stick with that for the long term. They don't go back and forth with ideas. They're steady, they are reliable, they're loyal, they're people that you can count on. So, in the workplace, as friends, they're usually seen as being very, very great, reliable employees and friends. But they can also be seen as being a bit stubborn, especially in romantic partnerships. Your partner may see you as being someone who is a little bit unwavering in the things that you do and how you live your life. For example, I have a Taurus friend, and we were vacationing in Europe, and she had to get McDonald's every other day. We were in Italy, we were in Rome, we were in Paris. And me, I'm the type of person who wants to try all new things, wants to try everything. A Taurus, is very like, I need this and this is what I'm going to have and I will not stop until I get it. You can't push a Taurus into a corner to make a decision. You have to kind of trick them in a way. You have to work with them and you have to guide them to make it seem like it's their decision. So it takes a long time to be able to change a Taurus's mind. So they are seen as people, again, who are very determined, stubborn, but also people who have great taste. They can be wonderful architecture, designers, interior designers, people who have a really amazing eye for things. And so a lot of the times, they are right in their decisions, but they sometimes can't see past that. They can't see past the physical or the visual. They need something to make sense. They need it to be accurate, and they need to understand all of the pieces. They're not like people who just jump into opportunities that come to them. They're more calculated in their choices. So they're definitely seen as being very cautious. Now, Gemini people are seen as being very curious, pretty outgoing, very communicative, chatty, people who are, they know the gossip, they know the story, they're up to date on the news. They really want to know all of the tea. They want to know everything that's going on. So usually they're seen as being people who sometimes can't keep secrets. Maybe they can't stick to their decisions sometimes, especially in commitments, maybe in work or in relationships. People kind of can tend to see them as being a little bit wishy-washy. They will make up their mind about something and then change it the next day or even, a little bit later. And sometimes, since Gemini is the sign of two, they can sometimes see the truth in duality. Sometimes their truth is not the actual factual truth, and they will sometimes say things as being the truth because it's what they believe, but it's really not. It's just the other side of the coin. It's not actually what happened, or it's not it's not the real facts of what is going on. So sometimes they can be seen as being even liars or untrustworthy at times. Now, this is definitely the lower level of Gemini. On the higher end, they can be seen as extremely intelligent, brilliant, hardworking people who have a lot of energy and are very very exciting and they're great to be around. They make other people smile, they make other people laugh. They really just want to have a great time, and they want people around them to have a good time as well. So they're definitely seen as being the fun sign. Now Cancers are seen as being people who are very nurturing and caring, of course. They are people who are definitely, protective of themselves and their family. They can be a little bit more shy, quiet, reserved. You maybe think that they're a little bit mysterious. They can be seen in that light because they are just so protective of themselves. They can have such a high wall up because they have such intense emotions. They're very sensitive. So people can just see them as being a little bit rigid even at times, or reserved, or they can be the people that have like a resting bitch face because they just don't, they don't very easily allow people into their space. But once you do get to know them, once you do get past them, past that, once you're in that, more romantic stage of partnership, or, in a family situation, they're definitely seen as being just very, really caring people and selfless even. They really care about other people's comfort, so their family, friends. When you come into their home, they want you to feel like you are just at home. They want you to have everything that you need. They have the restroom stocked with any kind of item you might need, and they're very protective of their home and their family. So sometimes people can see them as being a little bit, I would say even like crazy, a little bit. Like people can be like, wow, they're very like obsessed with their personal space and they're obsessed with their family. They are people who are homebodies, they're introverted. They don't probably love going out and socializing for long periods of time with coworkers or in social situations with friends. They feel a lot more comfortable and safe at home, so people can kind of put them into a box of being a little bit unusual and like they don't understand them. So Cancer is definitely a misunderstood sign. Now Leos are seen as being entertaining, fun. They love to make people laugh. They love attention. They love to have all eyes on them. So they are social butterflies usually. They're usually people who, they do have a few close friends that they keep really close in their circle. They're not really close friends with many people, but they do well in those social situations. So people tend to like them. They tend to say good things about them. They say they're funny. They are a good time to be around. They're, in games and entertainment, they can be very fun to just be at a party with. And then their friends who are more close to them will say that they're loyal, but they can sometimes be self-absorbed and sometimes even self-centered, just because they are so focused on their purpose and what they're doing day to day, what their mission is in life. And so other people can kind of feel like they are wanting to steal the spotlight. They want all of the attention, they want all the recognition, but a lot of times it definitely comes from a good place. It comes from a place of warmth and positivity for sure. Now Virgos are usually seen as being people who are very hardworking, sometimes critical of themselves and others, but they're definitely seen as being people who, when you get closer to them, they are very selfless and caring. They want to do, whatever they can to make your life easier. If you are their friend or if you are their coworker, they will really go above and beyond to prove themselves in that way and to show their loyalty to you. Sometimes people can see Virgos as someone that they can take advantage of or use in a certain way because they are very selfless when you get to know them more. And then they can also definitely be misunderstood as well. They are people who are, a little bit more introverted usually. It's not to say that they're shy, they just have a sense of cynicism, skepticism towards people because they don't trust people very easily, maybe because they have been taken advantage of before, so they don't want to, always put themselves out there. They don't want people to see, maybe what they're working on, their creative hobbies and their creative work. So they can usually be more private just because they're a little bit scared of that criticism. They're very sensitive, and people can kind of put them in a box as well, like that they are a little bit more weird or unique and that they're easy to misunderstand. But for the most part, they're seen as very hardworking people, very dedicated people who are reliable, that show up on time and do what they say that they're going to do. So they're definitely seen as being great coworkers and great employees, and sometimes to their their friends, they are seen as being a little bit more boring at times because they're usually more focused on what they have going on, their work and their day-to-day routine. So it's harder for them to get out of their shell and just have fun and let loose. Now, Libras are usually seen as people who are very relationship oriented. They really care about, asking people around them how they're doing. They want to know how your weekend was. So they're usually pretty inquisitive. And sometimes it's not really on a deep level. Like people that you work with may think, oh, I really like her. That person's very pleasant. They're always happy. They're always being, kind. But usually it's harder to get to a deeper level with these people. So they're definitely seen as being, social butterflies, really easy to talk to. Libra is an air sign and it's a masculine sign. So a lot of times people, it comes off in a good way. Air signs are intelligent. Usually people think that Libras are quite intelligent. They can get the job done. They're hardworking. Libra is also a cardinal sign. So when they make up their mind about doing something, they will really go as far as they need to make it happen. And so people can see them as very dedicated people and people who will really do whatever it takes to get what they want. And in some cases, of course, that can be seen in a negative light. They can be seen as sometimes they'll be manipulative to get what they want. They can use their great communication skills, their beauty, use any of those types of physical things to get what they want. And at times it can be perceived as a little bit insincere or again, manipulative. Maybe like people think that you're not being as truthful or truthful to who you are. And it can just come from a place of not really wanting to share on a deeper level. With your coworkers, you maybe say, oh yeah, I had a great weekend, we did this. But they maybe feel like you're not telling them everything, and perhaps it's none of their business. So Libras, again, just usually seen as being hard workers, easy to talk to, very social and friendly, but sometimes can be seen as holding back or just not always, being as real as some of the other signs might be, or as upfront with who they really are. Now, Scorpios are usually seen as very creative. People that meet them usually are drawn to them in some way. They have an intensity, a sexiness about them, something that lures you in a way. They usually are seen as being quite mysterious, and maybe that they don't always share everything that they have going on. But they definitely are very inquisitive. So they're the types of people who don't always want to share everything with you, but they want you to tell them everything that you're going through. So they can be very easy to talk to and great listeners, but they don't open up easily themselves. So a lot of people can lean on them for support. So usually people see Scorpios as people who, they can reach out to with any problem and that they will be there for them, or that they can handle any kind of task that they're given. It's a fixed sign as well. So they are loyal themselves, and they are very steady in the decisions that they make and the commitments that they hold themselves to. But people do see Scorpios as being reliable and hard workers. Again, it's a fixed sign. So they are similar to Taurus in that they are kind of stubborn in what they're doing, what they're working on, but usually they're very creative. And I would say that's probably the number one thing that people would say about Scorpios is that they are, emotional creatives and sometimes a bit mysterious and even hard to understand. Now, Sagittarius can be seen as very fun, outgoing, optimistic. They're hopeful people. They, can be the life of the party. They are social people and people who like to go out and about. They are usually extroverted, and it's a fire sign. So they want to expand. They have a vision. They have a lot of goals. And so people usually enjoy their presence. They usually enjoy being around them. They're, one of the first people that they probably call when they're having a party or when they're planning some type of an event, because they can count on them to bring that excitement and that energy to the function. Now, in partnerships, closer relationships, people might see them as being a little bit more rigid and less emotional. I would say that's the number one thing I hear about Sagittarius is that they're kind of unemotional. They are sometimes dogmatic in their beliefs and their opinions. Like if you don't have the same philosophies as them or outlooks on life or goals and things like that, you might not like them or enjoy being around them, just because their energy is usually so extroverted, and they're not afraid or shy to speak their beliefs and speak what they're thinking, and there's nothing that you can say really that will, you know, negate that or negotiate that with them. They're not the type of people who really get into debates because they won't see the other side of something. So the other people are usually like, well, it's not worth having that argument because they're not going to change their mind. So sometimes Sagittarius can be seen as being a bit more difficult and unemotional, but again, they're very fun and hopeful, exciting people to be around also. Now, Capricorns, I have a lot of Capricorn friends. They are seen as being hardworking people who have their life together, who have their stuff together, and who don't really take crap from people. Maybe they have in their younger years, or they were involved in situations that they didn't have much control over, but as adults, usually they're very in control. They have a schedule of how they want their life to go. They have a plan for themselves and for their family, and people can definitely see that with them. You know, they know that they can trust these people to get the job done. They know that these people are well equipped to handle, you know, any task that they're given. So they're seen as great leaders in companies. They're seen as pretty good employees and coworkers, but also, you know, they want to get to the top. So if you're in a specific industry with other people, they might find you as being a little bit threatening, or just the competition of you being there can be irritating to them for some reason. So you can find people who maybe don't always like you, or find you rigid, stern, find your way of, you know, going about things not very friendly, because you are pretty straightforward and to the point, and you will do what you need to do to get the job done. In relationships, these people are very caring. Capricorn is, I think, an underrated sign for how caring they are. They will, you know, do anything and fight for their family and their friends, and they are very, very loyal in that. But I think they do have difficulty, you know, sometimes communicating their thoughts and their emotions. So they can sometimes be seen as being a little bit unemotional or insensitive even. They find that work and, you know, what they're focused on and their mission, what they're building is just so important. And sometimes they don't always have the time to go and, you know, go to that emotional place with themselves or with their friends and family, which can, you know, definitely lead to depression or fear or anxiety. So that's something that these people also deal with and can sometimes be seen from the outside as well. Now, Aquarius, these people are seen as the life of the party. They are very fun, very visionary. They are also kind of isolationist. They like to be alone. They don't always like to be just surrounded by people. Again, it's an air sign and it is a social sign. So at times they will love to be in, you know, different social settings and communicating with people, you know, talking about ideas and talking about their visions, but they do really need their space and their alone time to fully, you know, kind of balance that. But people definitely see them as being very intelligent, very capable, sometimes unreliable and inconsistent. You know, I know a lot of Aquarian people who just cannot be on time to save their life, no matter what it is. It's really difficult for them. Even hold, you know, on to some promises that they've made. They can be a little bit wishy-washy in that because they sometimes don't take into account all of the other factors that they might be dealing with. So they can say, you know, yes to people too soon before they've fully maybe thought through the decision or the commitment that they're making. They can also be people who don't like to commit. So they will sometimes say, yes, of course, I'll do that, or I'll get back to you. And then, you know, they never do, or they just flake on you because they are just a little bit afraid of commitment. So again, in personal relationships, that can be something that they, you know, definitely go through, and people see them as being, you know, non-committal or unemotional, you know, wanting to be alone all of the time, and maybe just calling them randomly, you know, ignoring them all week and then calling the person randomly, like on Friday, like, hey, I'm coming to get you, we're going to a party, or I'm gonna pick you up, or, you know, what are you doing to that text? Like they are very, like, their personal space and what they're doing is important to them. So they can sometimes be seen as a little bit selfish in that way. Now, your Pisces people, Pisces are, they're very emotional people, and they're not always seen that way though, because they are a little bit more introverted and they keep things to themselves or directly with their loved ones that they want to talk about it to. Sometimes people can see them as being, very creative and sometimes a little bit weird or emotional, or just like they don't fit in with other people. I think a lot of Pisces people have that feeling of not fitting in or not finding their group or their tribe or their crowd that they really like vibe with, and especially in high school, not finding your clique that you are supposed to be with, because you're just more of an individual and you feel misunderstood. So people can see you kind of in that loner, state. And I think, in the workforce, you can be someone who is very, still very hardworking, but even people can, sometimes take advantage of you if you are just giving too much. You can be the type that maybe gives and gives and gives to an employer because you want their satisfaction, but maybe they don't appreciate it, as much as you would hope for them to. So people can see you as someone that maybe they can take advantage of, they can use, someone that they can even manipulate, sadly enough. But people also see you as, very selfless, loving, caring, will do whatever it takes for their family, for their loved ones, for their job. They are people who really merge themselves with whatever their focus is. If it's an art project, if it's their work, their partner, they really give themselves 100% to those things, just because that's their nature. Their nature is just to soak everything up that's around them and to blend with it. So they don't have great boundaries, and people can maybe say that, they can maybe say, well, that person's boundaries are just they're a little off, maybe they get a little too close to me, or maybe they overindulge at the company functions because they just don't really separate those types of things. Everything is just one. They don't really take they don't always take things super serious. They can be more people who have kind of like an I don't care attitude towards things, even with like their hygiene or their work. Like for me, I have my Mercury in Pisces. I don't always triple check my work when I'm typing an email or when I am, working on something small. It's just, there's things that are very important to me that I do really focus on and put my time to. And there's other things that I just don't see, the importance of putting extra time into that. So that's something that a Pisces, definitely can be seen as being a little bit messy. But not all Pisces, but some can definitely be seen in that way. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and also hit the bell notification so that you're notified whenever I post a new video. If you have any feedback or requests, please leave that below. And my link to book a reading is in the description box. So if you're interested in booking a reading with me to read your birth chart or your relationship chart, I would be happy to do so. Have a great day. Bye.